Nepal's People Power Rebellion, led mainly by the country's Gen Z youth, represents one of the most powerful and urgent calls for change in recent history. Beginning in early September 2025, tens of thousands of young Nepalese erupted in nationwide protests triggered by the government's abrupt ban on 26 popular social media platforms. What started as opposition to censorship quickly grew into a widespread revolt against entrenched corruption, nepotism, and economic hardship faced by ordinary citizens. The protests culminated in violent clashes, the resignation of Prime Minister KP Sharma Oli, and the burning of government buildings across Kathmandu, the state capital, and other cities. Gen Z, Generation Z, roughly those aged 13 to 28, played the leading role. Born into a world dominated by digital connection and social media, these young protesters saw the platforms as vital tools for free speech and mobilization. The government's blogging on Facebook, X, Instagram, and YouTube was the last straw amid long-standing grievances about politicians and their children flaunting wealth while many Nepalese remain trapped in poverty with an average yearly income less than $1,400. The movement also exposed deep frustrations over youth unemployment, political favoritism, and a lack of genuine governance. Mr. Christian Ako, what do you make of the recent, some call it revolution, some call it rebellion, some call it revolt, some call it just protest? What is it to you? And what lessons can Nigeria learn from it?
Yes, the situation in Nepal is a welcome development. It helps to re-echo the fact that the ultimate power in every human setting belongs to the people. When these guys are in power, they feel they are the alpha and the omega. They feel they are untouchable. They feel they can do and undo. They see themselves as the God, right, that ought to be worshipped and ought to be respected against all odds. And I'm happy that the people of Nepal have seized the power from the corrupt government officials. They have determined to front their own freedom. How on earth will government want to muzzle the people out of civilization by trying to ban all social media platforms in their country? And this is a warning to the Nigerian government officials. You know, the Tinubu-led government are also warming up, trying to ban X ahead of 2027. And with the situation in Nepal now, it's a clear signal to them what they should expect. Don't think maybe the Nigerian people cannot protest when worse come to worse. I see the people actually rising up. And the social media seem to be a companion for the isolated people in the society who have nobody to talk to. They lean on the social media as a platform of communication, right? It helps them to keep bonding with the global community. And when you try to cut the connection, you see the idle-minded people, the isolated people hitting the streets and determine the removal of the government. I applaud the people of Nepal for the courageous determination to take back their country. And that is exactly what they have done. And they did not only stop at determining or demanding the freedom of speech via different social media platforms. They went ahead to demand for the removal of the government on grounds of corruption. There has been massive corruption outcry in the country, and they celebrate the removal of the president. They burn down the national, the parliament that failed to to front the yearning of the people. It's a signal to Akpabio-led and National Assembly that should the Gen Z generation in the country, in Nigeria, should rise, they are the they are the first point of call. The National Assembly have failed Nigeria with enormous budgetary allocation without any impact. They cannot even raise up to ask the Bola Ahmed Tinubu-led administration any meaningful question. All they do is to rubber stamp whatever it is that Tinubu presents to them. And it's very shameful that we have a country where our national assemblies, we don't even know the reason why we have national assembly in this instance. Look at Nigeria have accumulated trillions and trillions of debt, needless debt. Take it from tax alone. The tax that this current administration has generated is enough to power the economy. But here we are, despite oil, despite tax, despite all the government income, they still go ahead to borrow money from IMF, from World Bank, from China. The next thing that is left for Tinubu-led administration, of course, is to start borrowing from OPay, PamPay, and all these fintech companies. Who knows whether he has already gone there? So Tinubu is shameless when it comes to borrowing. All he does is to borrow and consume. He has been flaunting around the world needlessly, even where it's not needed. Look at him celebrating and meeting Emmanuel Macron in France, someone that he could give birth to as a child. It's a shame that African leaders don't have respect for themselves. They have no shame, and they go about the world flaunting their ignorance. Having Tinubu every now and then in France, is France his home country, or France one of the states in Nigeria, where there are countless terrorism taking place across Nigeria? He is nowhere to be found. His foot have not touched many states in Nigeria, but every now and then he's in abroad. And they are deceiving Nigerians. We are watching. A day will come. This revolution will not spare all of them, including their aides. And we are looking up to that day. Patiently, it will come. That's my submission.
Yes, the very revolution, or let me say protest in Nepal, I think it has achieved one thing, the cancellation or the retractment of the ban on social media. The ban was executed last week, but by Monday night, it was lifted by the government. But before then, the protest had spread and spiraled beyond control. But the thing I want to ask Ibrahim, the violence that we witnessed in the Nepalian rebellion, is it worth it? Because we understand that the parliament was not only destroyed, it was set on fire. The judiciary department was also set on fire. So is the violence worth it?
All right. I would like to look at it from two different angles. The first angle is a failure of the system. Thank God today is September 11, and this commemorates the day that we witnessed the worst, should I say, terrorist attack of the 20th and 21st century, where some people hijack a plane and attack two towers in the United States of America. I watched a documentary yesterday about the attack that took place on September 11, 2001. And even the title of that very documentary was What the Government Hide to the Americans. So the government have been hiding this thing for years, but now because of the advent of social media, people have begun to ask the hard questions. Why does so many things happen during that period? And now in the West, that traditionally they have the conservative and the liberals. Today, they have the conservative and the liberals and those who does not even believe in the system, entirely. They believe the system is a lie, is deception, and is not working. You know, democracy as a whole is ruled by the people, but the people are not ruling. And there is a consistent pattern of lying to the people to achieve a certain goal. And don't forget, the United States of America is the epitome of democracy in the world. So let's take it to Nepal and even the global South Africa, for example. The system has not been working for us for years. And the old order, or should I say, the people on the 70s, 60s, born on the 60s, 70s, 50s, and 40s, they still believe in the system. But the Generation X, Generation Alpha, Generation Z, and the generation from 80s, late 80s, 90s, 2000, they don't believe in the system. And we're asking the hard question today. And that's what fuels revolution in most cases. So the failure of the system is apparent to every one of us. That democracy, in principle, is good, but in practice, it is not feasible for us to achieve that. It is not possible to achieve the principle of democracy. Then, on the other hand, you ask the question whether the violence is going to help the Nepalese. The answer here is simple. It's one thing to have a revolution, and it's another for this revolution to be impactful or to make a positive impact on the people. We had a lot of revolution in the world, and the recent one is the revolution that happened in Libya. It unfortunately became a failure, but we had a lot of revolution that were successful. So the question of whether the revolution is going to be successful depends on those who orchestrated the revolution. And we're hoping that the revolution will become successful. And that's the question that I asked you in the morning. Do you honestly believe that dividing Nigeria is the solution to the country? I actually don't believe that dividing Nigeria is the solution, because I can look at the data. 54 sovereign states in Africa, no single state is working. So clearly, it's not just Nigeria, it's everywhere in Africa. Then I can also look at some of the countries that had successful division, for example, South Sudan and Sudan. Now, what the two countries are failed states, right? So the system didn't work there. So why should I think that it's going to work in Nigeria? And looking at the political sphere in Nigeria, both the leaders in the north and the south share the same, the poor and vulnerable share the same circumstance of deprivation and manipulation. We are being governed by tyrants in both regions. It is not, the bad governance in Nigeria is not peculiar to the north or peculiar to the south. It's everywhere. And the evidence is looking at the performance of our state governors, the performance of our ministers, the performance of our local government chairman. And it is clear that we don't have leaders at all facets. And no system is going to work whether we divide the country or not. And one of the sad things is marginalization. The primary fuel of division in Nigeria is marginalization. If you still divide the country, some minorities will still be marginalized. And that's why a vast majority of Niger Delta does not consider the secession of Biafra, because they understand that if they secede, the same circumstance of marginalization from Nigeria will also happen. So the reality is we should find a system that is working for us, not a system that is not going to work. And I believe it's now on us. If Gen Zs will champion a cause of revolution, we should still thinking from the same angle. Why not revolution in Nigeria? Why not revolution in Africa? I believe that's the only way out for Africa. We have to get a new system that will work for us, rather than just clinging on the system that keep on failing us consistently.
Right. Thank you very much, Mr. Ibrahim. And Mr. Christian Ako, convener and Due Process Integrity Vanguard. It is nice to have you on the program. Thank you for your contribution and time.
Yes, thank you for having me.
All right. Viewers, this is where we come to the end of today's session of DDM Morning Show. We shall be back here again tomorrow to give you another edition. I am Tosh Raphael. Do ensure to subscribe to DDM TV, like our videos, make your comments on the topics we discuss, and share them widely. Goodbye.